Next to speak, we have Alec Loorz.
On behalf of all the youth here, I'd like to thank you all for your work in creating a better world for our generation. It is discouraging for some kids to think that we're inheriting a world that's been pretty messed up. But you guys give us hope and inspire us to be part of the solution. And also, thank you to all of you at WorldLink for believing in my work enough to give me a place up here with these amazing people who've accomplished so much. Because usually, youth aren't included in the center of what's happening. I went to a premiere of the 11th Hour last summer with a group of kids from a youth environmental activist group called the Green Ambassadors. Afterwards, there was a panel of experts talking about it. One of the girls from Green Ambassadors was bugged that even though we had these 30 youth there in the audience, there was no place for us in the discussion. We are part of the 11th Hour solution too. We can't just sit here and watch the adults fix it for us. We need to be part of the change. So my friend poked me and whispered, "Hey, let's get up there with them." I said, "I'm not going to go up on stage in front of 100 people. You do it." And then she actually did it. She actually had the guts to climb up there and ask them to make a place for her on stage with the experts. But I've noticed that we're often left on the fringes. I went to a big environmental conference, and while everyone was listening to all these important people speak, they set up a youth tent for all the youth to go. But that's not what we want, is it? It's not enough to be saying, "Yay, let's ride bikes and change light bulbs." No. We want to be in there with everyone else. It may seem crazy to have a 13-year-old kid up here on a panel with these brilliant scientists and professors and leaders. But by having me up here, WorldLink acknowledges that youth are a central part of the solution. We're not on the fringes here. Carla said that you guys all overwhelmingly voted to study global warming this year. And I think I know why. There's a study done last year where they asked middle school students what they most feared. Things like war, terrorists, car crashes, cancer. And 60% of the kids named global warming as their primary concern. You all wanted to study global warming because you're in touch with what is the most important challenge of our time, and you want to do something about it. I think that you will leave this conference today changed. I think that you will be empowered to be the leaders, the environmental activists, and the teachers at your schools and in your communities. You will be the ones to change the world. As most kids, they may not be able to tell you exactly what CO2 is or why burning fossil fuels contributes to the greenhouse effect, but they can tell you that they are afraid of what will happen in their lifetime if we don't stop messing with the planet. We do know what needs to happen. We know we need to do little things like recycling and avoiding plastic bags and stuff. This is good stuff to do. It's important. But we know it's a bigger problem than all of that. And we want to be part of that solution too. We want to be part of educating and empowering other people and influencing our government policies. We want to be starting green businesses and training for green jobs. We want our voices heard in town halls and in state capitals, Washington, and even worldwide. We are not on the fringes here. I first decided to create Kids vs. Global Warming when I was in 7th grade. I had a school project where I needed to find a mentor who would let me follow them around all day. I knew that I wanted to give the global warming presentations like Al Gore. I knew he was training people, but when I applied, I was told that I was too young. He was only training people at age 14, and I was only 12 at the time. So my mom and I searched the internet to find someone else who was trained by him to see if we could watch their presentation. We happened to find this woman in San Diego named Lisa Schaefer. She seemed nice enough. But then later we found out that Lisa was more than just nice. At that time, she was the Associate Director of Scripps Institution of Oceanography, where, as you know, much of the climate change research was being conducted. I was so excited to come see Scripps and meet Lisa. But the weird thing was that Lisa was also excited about meeting me. She treated me like I was something important, and I was like, what's the big deal? I'm just a kid. She set up a private tour of the global warming exhibit at Birch Aquarium. I also got to meet a couple of the scientists who are doing research at Scripps, including Jeff Severinghouse, who does the polar ice cap drilling. I left there so pumped up. I knew I needed to make a real difference. So I soon got to work creating my own version of Gore's Inconvenient Truth, only I made mine especially for kids. I wanted to use videos, animation, and hands-on demonstrations so that kids would be excited about the science as well as the activism of it. I now go to schools and give presentations, and at every school we start an action team of other kids who want to be leaders. I also came up with an idea to alert my city, Ventura, about how sea level rise will affect us. The project is called SLAP. It stands for Sea Level Awareness Project. There will be about 30 kids helping me put up 120 poles throughout Ventura that show how far underwater we'd be standing if all of Greenland melts. The reason I'm telling you about what I'm doing is because you can do it too. You might think, what can I do? I'm just a kid. But I found out that being a kid is actually an advantage. A year ago, before I was really aware of all this, there was a global warming town meeting in my city. I didn't go, but lots of people showed up and there were talks from all the city officials and stuff. One of the people who showed up was a 12-year-old kid that just stood up and said, "I'm glad you're all talking about this. It's important for my future." And guess who got all the press? Yep. When we as kids show up to things like this, we get noticed. Remember the girl who stood on stage at the 11th hour? She was the one who showed up on national TV. We don't have to be just a kid. We are the next generation. It's our responsibility to be working to save the earth for the generations after us. In our lifetime, we'll start to see changes, whether they be good or bad. We aren't just fighting for future generations, now we're fighting to save the planet for our generation. Life when we grow up will be drastically different than it is now. If we don't respond to climate change, our grandchildren will climb into our laps to ask about the olden days when there were amazing animals like polar bears and penguins. They'll go on deep-sea diving expeditions to see San Diego. Or the world will be drastically different in another way, if we do make the changes we need to make. Then our grandkids will look at us with wonder and amazement when we tell them that people in our days had cars that ran on gasoline, and nobody used solar energy. They'll be living in an earth that can actually sustain their way of life. They'll be living in a culture that cares as much about the next 7 generations as it does its own generation, as much as the trees and the air and the ocean. It'll be their normal way of life. We all want our grandchildren to live like that. And for that to happen, we need to begin by making that our normal way of life now. Not later when we grow up. Not after we have our PhDs and have done some breakthrough research or become senators. We need to start making changes now. James Hansen of NASA says that we have less than 10 years to make the changes necessary to prevent major disastrous climate change. 10 years! Guys, if I wait till I'm out of graduate school, it'll be too late. We need to be involved right now. We need to educate ourselves on these issues. We need to know what it is we're needed to do. And then we need to simply go out and do it. People tell me all the time, it's great to have kids involved, you guys are the future. And it's true, we are the future, but we're more than that. We are the now. We are the present, and our voices do make a difference. We're not on the fringes here. And now, let's work together to change the world, and not just occupy it. Thank you.